There's an inside beauty and an outside beauty. There's an inside beauty and an outside beauty. There's an inside beauty and an outside beauty. And it's all a part of me and you.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the first section that we're going to talk about with social emotional learning, which is around self-awareness. So again, if you haven't gotten your items, I'm going to ask that you grab them now, which is some water because we need to stay hydrated, something to write with, and then some paper, either a journal or loose leaf paper so you can take notes, you can use the things that use ideas and write them down. And then finally, please, I invite you to bring creativity. I invite you to use and bring your wonderful imagination and finally your playfulness as we talk about self-awareness. Let's go. Awesome. So shout out to Groovy Nate, who is an awesome singer, producer, and works with young people all over the nation to really bring about a sense of pride and history, self-awareness. Really, I would say Groovy Nate is wonderful with bringing in and exemplifying the social emotional competencies through music. So if you don't know him, look him up. His name is Groovy Nate, and he is awesome. So, as I said before, now we're going to be talking about self-awareness. So, self-awareness, what is that? What comes to mind for you when you think of self-awareness? So, typically when people are talking about self-awareness, what they're talking about is really being able to recognize one's own emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. It's about knowing your strengths, but also knowing your limitations. Self-awareness is also being grounded in your history, being grounded in your identity and culture, to know this is where I come from, this is who I am, this is my ancestry, and this is where I want to go. These are the emotions that fill me. This is about being able to be self-determined, to name yourself, to be able to have agency and power within, to know it and to name it. So now we're going to be talking about what are lessons and activities that really help young people to strengthen their self-awareness, or as we like to say it in creative praxis, your I am. So I'm going to ask you now to pull out your paper and something to write with, and I'm going to ask you to join me as we talk about 3 really fun, engaging, and interactive activities that really help young people to explore their I am, that really help them to explore and name who they are for themselves, and really help to explore and to name what are their strengths and their limitations. This is really important, especially when we're working with brown and black children, because society has constantly given negative messages around who they are. It is also important during this self-awareness part that we open up the stage and the place and the space for young people to hear and to witness black and brown excellence, to show them people who look like them, who are doing wonderful things in their community. So that's another part as we talk about self-awareness, is making sure that young people are tied with their identity, their history, from a place of excellence, from a place of beauty, and from a place of pride. So let's go. Let's talk about the 3 exercises. So the first activity or exercise that we're going to use is called You See These. And this can be used for young people from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade. So my son loves this exercise and really says it almost every day. This comes to us from a man whose name is Vincent Thomas, who I learned it from when I was attending Urban Bushwomen's Bold. If you don't know who Urban Bushwomen is, I highly recommend that you go and look them up. They do fabulous work around self-awareness and really helping us to step into our power. Now, one of the things that I want to stress before I teach you this is it's really important that as we talk about self-awareness with young people, that we're not just talking about it from a space of our head space, right? So not only is it important to name it with our words and to think about it, but to actually embody awareness, to actually embody and understand emotions. Like, where does that sit inside of the young person's body? Really being free to be able to articulate what they feel, but also to give them permission to move and be inside their bodies. Their bodies are a part of self. So this comes from, like I said, Vincent Thomas, and it goes like this. Now, I am going to ask you to stand up because you will be doing this with young people standing. So usually I have young people doing this in a circle, like in our morning circle, or sometimes in the middle of the day. You can also use this exercise as a closing exercise, but primarily I recommend you use it at the beginning when you're doing your opening circle. So it goes like this. You put your hands out like so. I invite you to put your hands out like so. And let's just move these wrists around. Now, don't forget you're standing up, educators and youth directors and people. So stand up. Go ahead and move your arms and your wrists like this. And I'm going to ask you now to just look at your hands. Look at your hands. Notice the lines. Go ahead and turn your hands over. What do you see? Now I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. You see these hands? They are not your hands. They are mine. All mine. Now go ahead and move these shoulders. That's right. Why? Because they're your shoulders. You see these shoulders? They are not your shoulders. They are mine. All mine. Good. Now we're going to try something that often we don't use a lot, but we need to use. You see this rib cage? This is not your rib cage. Repeat that. It is mine. All mine. Now the next thing is, you see this body? Go ahead and tap your body. You see this body? It is not your body. It is my body. It is all mine. Go ahead and put your hands on your head. You see this brain? This is not your brain. It is mine. All mine. Put your hand to your heart. Feel your heartbeat for a second. You see this heart? It is not your heart. It is mine. All mine. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. And say one more time. You see this body? It is not your body. It is mine. All mine. Good. Good job, everyone. I'm going to invite you to pop a squat or sit down. Let's talk about that, right? So why might it be important for you as an educator to wake up every time you go into a classroom or when you wake up, to say the words, you see this body, it is not your body. It is mine, all mine. Why might it be important for young people when they wake up in the morning, when they're in class with other people in their community, to say, you see this body, it is not your body. It is mine, all mine. You see these brain, you see these emotions. They are my emotions. They are not yours. They are mine, all mine. This brings a sense of urgency. It says a sense of power and boundaries. It also is powerful for young people to hear you say it so that they can see that you are aware of your body, of your emotions, and can articulate with power what is yours. I'm sure you can think of other things of why this affirmation is so important. Not only for young people to say it, but it helps them not to be afraid, right, of moving and getting into their body. Awesome. So with that, the next thing is another activity that I like to use when I'm trying to cultivate and think about self-awareness is space matters, right? So how do we help young people to have a greater sense of self-awareness, a greater sense of history, while at the same time making sure that this is seen and felt in the air and the atmosphere in which young people are learning. So one of the exercises and activities that I like to do is I like to work with young people to create their own sacred space. Now, this could be done if you have your own classroom. This could be done if you are, a teacher who kind of goes in and out of classrooms and don't have your own space. This could be done when you're helping young people to create their own sacred space at home. Again, this is something that you can do with a kindergartner, or this is something you can do all the way through 8th grade. You would just change it and tweak it to fit the age that is appropriate for the young person you work with. So this is my sacred space. Sacred spaces are spaces that young people can look at in their home, in their classroom, to help them connect to the space, to help to remind them that they are grounded in history, helps them to have a greater sense of I am. And it also helps young people to learn about the history and the culture. And it also helps young people to respect the space. But most importantly, it really connects young people to really understanding who they are, helps them to understand their emotions, helps them to understand their history and their culture. So when creating an altar, there are 5 or so things that you want to think about. The first thing, and I'm going to ask you to write this down, is you want to have on your altar something that represents the young person. So usually I do many things with that. Sometimes I ask young people to bring something in that represents their I am, something that says this is who I am, that they're proud of or that they like, that when you think of this, it really talks about your I am. Sometimes I do this exercise when I start it. I'll have young people take a mirror out and I have them take a couple of moments just to look at themselves in the mirror. Take a couple of seconds. What do you see, right? And have a moment of reflection, of just looking at that I am. So they can bring something in that represents their I am. Other times you might have a slew of materials that are out. You might have cars or paint or all different rocks. And then you can say, pick one item on the table that represents your I am, or that represents who you are. And then you have young people pick that item. So the first thing is having something on the table that's your I am. The next thing that you want to have on the table is something that represents their culture, right? Something that represents where they're from, maybe the types of food, or something that they're proud of that's happening in their culture. So for example, on mine, I have the red, black, and green flag that represents liberation. So I have this beautiful decorated candle that represents my culture, and that goes here. The next thing that you want to have on your altar that I like to have that young people really love is smell, right? Something that represents something that they enjoy to smell, to activate them. Sometimes I use mist, and we make eucalyptus or peppermint mist, mostly water with a little bit of essential oil so that it's not harmful to anyone's eyes or skin. And then young people can spray it around, just something to activate their smells. So again, something that represents smell for the young person. And not anything that they need to burn, just something that represents smell for them. The next one is nature, helping young people to remember that they have a connection with nature. So I am, and I realize that I am connected to nature, and nature is connected to me in any way that they want to do that. Maybe it's through having a plant. Maybe it's having water in their altar. Anything that helps the young person to create or to explore nature. Now, for me, when I do this with young people for the altar time, I actually have them go outside and I say, let's grab one thing in nature that really resonates with you, that you like, that you want to bring with you. And we remember that when we go out and we take from nature, we always say thank you. Thank you, nature, for supporting us. Thank you, nature, for giving us to us. We will honor you, because we don't want to get in the habit of young people just going and grabbing flowers or grabbing grass or just grabbing from nature. We want to make sure that we really honor nature by saying thank you. We will honor it and we will be respectful to it so they can bring this back. The next thing is family, right? Something on their altar that represents family to the young person. And family doesn't have to mean blood. Family could mean blood, but it doesn't have to. Just a group of people that you feel connected with that helps ground you in the space. And then finally, another thing that I like to put on the sacred space for young people is your goals, right? What do your goals or aspirations. So for me, I have my goals that I have for the year. I put them on my altar so that I can remember that I have goals. Now, this is really a beautiful space. And young people, we usually take fabric and we put fabric out, and each section of a classroom may be up against the wall. They have the different names of the sacred space. And young people really respect that space because they put so much time and energy into doing it, and it's theirs. They were able to articulate what matters to them with their family. They were able to articulate about their history and their culture, about what smells good for them, and able to articulate their I am. So that's a really fun and engaging exercise. The next one that I like to do is my I am collage. Now, if you've ever been to a creative praxis training, you know at the beginning of every training, we're going to take some time to do your I am. Why? Because we can't talk about other things and other people if we first don't have a good sense of who we are. So these are a couple of examples of an I am collage. This one is mine, but I'll give you some other ones of students. So with the I am collage, I usually have young people start off with a canvas like this, right? And they have a blank slate. And we have a lot of materials that are out. So if you notice here, and I'm going to bring this out for you all, I have different things here, right? So I have some scissors, I have some yarn, I have some cutouts of an old book that I found in recycling, and then I have magazine clippings, right? So we use this, and really on the table, I really invite young people to explore it for themselves. So really asking them, who are you? So today we're going to make an I am collage. And the I am collage is going to have and answer some of the questions. How would you define yourself? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Sometimes I have young people write I am, and then all around it are the things that are surrounded. They could use words, images, it doesn't matter. The other question that I ask is, how should people treat you? How do you want to be treated? Put that on your I am collage. Another thing that young people can put on there, what are your strengths and what are your limitations? What are some of your feelings that you have when you're happy? How does that showcase? All of that could go in their I am collage and allow young people to get creative. So this is one exercise. With this one, what's really fun about it is, let's see. You guys can see it. This one is, I decided with this group that I was working with to use something different, which is these papers here and some magazine cutouts that we had. And then also one of the favorite things that I like to use that young people really like, especially kindergarten, first grade. I have my daughter is in the 6th grade. Everyone likes stamps. So going to Michael's, you can order it on Amazon, and going to get stamps that have positive messages, that have words and images, and allow young people to use the stamps to put in their I am collage. So that's a really fun one that young people like to do. I'm going to give you some examples of other ones. So this was done by an 8th grader, and we used tape to kind of map out the area so that the young person had tape and they just crafted it out. We got paint tape, and they painted it around here, and then they opened it up so that they can write their words in. I think it goes this way or this way. Y'all see the point that I'm trying to make. So this was a beautiful one, and this young person had such a good time doing it. Another example of an I am collage was, with this one, we didn't have the canvas paper. I just took cardstock paper, and we had feathers and yarn. And again, this person decided not to use so many drawings, but they decided to use words. Again, that's okay. The purpose of this is to really get young people to express themselves and to really start to think about, who am I? So this was one, and we had all different types of things with it. Finally, this is one that the young person decided to do more abstract. There are no words. And this young person really told the story of themselves in a boat and being in water, and water supporting them, and how they felt connected to water and to the earth. There was a really beautiful story behind this one that a young person did. So I want to give a great shout out to this young person for their I am collage. So I am collages are really beautiful, and invite you to explore all the different ways. Sometimes it could be I am. Sometimes it could be I am. This gives me strength. What gives you hope? Sometimes it could be I am, and then it could be different ways that you talk about emotions. But the biggest thing is really allowing young people to use paint and different art materials to get their emotions out. All right, y'all, let's go to number 2.